This is the European edition of Breaking Banks, the world's #1 fintech podcast and radio show. We bring you the European unicorns, startups, founders, regulators, and leaders innovating the rapidly evolving fintech scene today. A truly localized podcast with both English and local language content, with some of the world's most well-known hosts and influencers in the fintech sector globally. Join us every week as we explore what makes the European Union a phenomenal proving ground for many of the fastest growing fintech players in the world today. Okay, let's roll.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Breaking Banks Europe. I'm Francesca Aliverti, and I'm going to be your host. For today's episode, we have another one about our format, the Ecosystem Zoom In, where we try to select one specific geography and go much more into deep, trying to understand who are the stakeholders around the ecosystem, specifically the relationship between them, of course, the startup side, the investor side, and also the incumbents. And this time, we have picked Greece. So I'm actually quite happy to have this deep dive into Greece today, because for multiple reasons, it's a country that is very close to me, till the point I can say I'm considering it as a second home almost. So I'm actually very glad to welcome our two guests of today. We have Dimitris Kalavros-Gousiou, co-founder and general partner at Velocity.Partners Venture Capital. Kalimera, Dimitris.
Hello, Francesca. Hi. Great to be here.
And Roula Bachtalia, head of the program E.G.G, which is quite an interesting initiative. We will deep dive very soon together. Welcome to the show, Roula.
Welcome, Francesca. Thank you very much for the invitation. Hi, Dimitris. Nice to talk to you.
Hello, Roula.
Thanks. So, guys, I want to start this conversation trying to be honest with each other, okay? So, we have to say that when you think about Greece, the first thing that comes into mind is for sure not innovation. And I'm saying that being an Italian, we kind of share the same common ground and the same problems, like big legacy, traditional mindset, maybe a tricky bureaucracy, and so on. But if I look at your profiles, I actually see that you are very much focused into the startup ecosystem and trying very much to foster innovation as much as possible into the country. So I really hope that out of this conversation, we can get some light on a new image of Greece out of the very traditional one of probably only the country of sunny and seaside or whatever, you know what I mean. So I want to start with you, Roula, and deep dive a bit more in actually your role as a program manager at E.G.G. So you were running a program in one of the most active Greek ecosystem for startup, which is indeed E.G.G. Could you tell us a bit more about your activity there, how it originated, and exactly what you are doing there?
Yeah, sure, of course. Thank you very much, Francesca. E.G.G is a premium incubator and accelerator that is continuously helping the Greek startup community to improve competitiveness in a challenging global market under three main pillars: extroversion, financing, and business networking. The E.G.G startup platform, it is the first platform, aims to support entrepreneurship at very early stage, so helping startups grow. And the E.G.G Scale-Up platform provides sufficient funding to startups aiming business sustainability, let's say. So having said that, the E.G.G Startup platform is a 12-month incubation program with the rigorous filtering of applications of about 2,000 applications every year. But finally, 30 to 40 startup teams enter the E.G.G every year. And we provide facilities, premises, mentoring services, bootcamp training, and very intensive and very important extroversion program in US, Canada, Israel, Europe, with the support of international partners that we signed contracts with them. And on the other hand, the E.G.G Scale-Up platform, which is recently launched, it's an acceleration program, provides business and finance consulting to more mature startups, and we provide access to funding and aiming to bridge research to investors and businesses. So generally speaking, we follow the global trends in order to better understand the needs for business acceleration. Early 2020, digital transformation trends, predictions focused on 5G technologies, data analysis, machine intelligence, security. Then we faced the COVID-19 pandemic, and we added cashless payments, contactless commerce, remote medical diagnosis, and biotech solutions. So investing in digital transformation, connectivity, human capital, and digital public services became also the new technology trends, preparing Greece to the new digital era. So under this aspect, E.G.G is focusing in biotech, logistics, green tech, smart cities, and as well as tourism tech and fintech, edutech, and any emerging technologies in different industry sectors, and also integrated solutions to ESG, which is environment, social, and government standards. So this is a first glance what we are doing at the E.G.G at that moment.
Definitely. Thanks, Roula. It's quite impressive, actually, all the topics you are trying to cover. And it's always nice to see initiatives like that, because, of course, it's quite of a push for the startups to be able to be accelerated and to be supported in such programs. Can I ask you how, when you are running the next program, this could actually be interesting for our audience to know how frequently you run the program?
All right. First of all, let's say that E.G.G is 100% funded by Eurobank, which is one of the 4 systematic banks in Greece, with a strong presence in 6 countries, which is Greece, Cyprus, Luxembourg, Serbia, Bulgaria, and UK also. And the Eurobank group in numbers, it's a bank of 67 to 68 billion in total assets, 638 customer service locations, and more than 12,000 employees, just to have some numbers on that. And Eurobank also actively contributes to the development of the Greek innovation ecosystem, cooperates also with the state for the improvement of the ecosystem institutional framework, and the promotion of healthy entrepreneurship, supporting its extroversion and the internationalization. So on the aspect of the startup platform, we open every year. Today is the 9th cycle. We opened the 9th cycle, accepting proposals and finalizing with the assessment, which is 4 phases of assessment, early June. So we start the incubation cycle end of June until the next end of June next year. So it's 12 months.
So the application is actually open now?
Yes, nice. That's right.
Nice to hear.
Everybody can submit from today at 12 o'clock until Monday, 10th of May.
That's good. That's good to give this information to our audience, since maybe they can be probably one of your next startup to accelerate. So good to say that. All right, let's now go a bit more into the actual startup ecosystem. And Dimitri, of course, you are a VC and you see quite an impressive number of startups, I suppose. And I see your fund is very much focused on early stage and seed investment, specifically on the Greek market. So how would you define the startup ecosystem in Greece? What are you looking at? Where do you see them struggle, or which one do you think are their main assets?
Sure. I think, Francesca, you made a very valid point at the very beginning that Greece has not a strong reputation as far as innovation and the internet economy is concerned. And having said that, during the last decade, we've been through a humongous acceleration process as an ecosystem, as an industry. Because of initiatives like Eurobank's E.G.G, because of private investors, because of early successes and early exit we produce as an ecosystem. And we're in a position to argue that we've been through a lot, because this last decade was a decade of financial struggle for the Greek economy. But we've managed to navigate in uncharted waters pretty much with a pretty decent outcomes so far. And these decent outcomes meaning more than a handful, to be frankly honest, exits that produce realized economic return for all the participating parties, from investors to entrepreneurs to the state and so on and so forth, to the fact that the ecosystem and the talent community, the tech talent community in Greece has matured a lot during this decade, because many Greeks obviously left the country at the very beginning of the financial crisis about a decade ago. And we found ourselves in a transition where I strongly believe that in a post-COVID reality, many people who left, they will permanently be back in the country to either work remotely for global players and companies, or start a new entrepreneurial journey based or co-based in Athens or elsewhere in Greece. So having said that, for the last three years almost, we monitor the Greek ecosystem as well as the Greek expat communities across the globe. So anywhere from London to the States to wherever. Having scouted more than 3,000 cases so far with Velocity, I would argue that there are some common challenges for first-timers. One is they're not really aware of the financial instruments in place they can work with and finance their cases. They're not really aware of the VC, the venture capital community as a viable means of financing your business. Yeah, exactly. I think another challenge we have as an ecosystem, and 2021 is a year where there are going to be quite significant updates as far as this front is concerned, as well as the angel community. It's not the easiest of things to find your first startup money. Anything from 50K to 50K.
Definitely.
We're getting there. There's going to be an angel-focused fund to be launched in Athens, in Greece, second half this year. So, challenges for entrepreneurs: better understanding the financing options, better understanding what it takes to build a startup case that's investable. And this is where institutions like E.G.G, like Found.ation, which is our private acceleration business, comes into play. And there are a handful, to be frankly honest, there are a handful of good acceleration incubation spaces across the country. Thessaloniki, in Crete as well, and a couple of other major Greek cities like Patras or Ioanna in Epirus. So better understanding the ingredients you need in place in order to kick off a venture, together with the fact that they need to better understand what the options as far as financing are the main structures for Greek entrepreneurs. I want to highlight something. About a decade ago, many Greeks were arguing that bureaucracy is so terrible. We cannot really open a branch, open a shop in Greece. That's not really the case, and I think we need to start being more vocal about that. We've solved and we simplify the whole how to set up a shop in Greece concerned type of discussion. So it's really easy, just in a week time or more or less, to open an LTD company or the equivalent of a UK LTD in Greece, and start invoicing.
Yeah, it's interesting. You touch upon quite some interesting points, and about bureaucracy. Actually, I usually always say that. Bureaucracy, the topic of bureaucracy many times is just an excuse for us not to do stuff, because I think we come from very similar countries in this sense, and many times we hide behind the bureaucracy. Bureaucracy is too complicated, and then we are not moving forward in the right direction. And I was actually also very interested about what you were saying about the expat community, because I have myself lived in the Netherlands for 6 years. And over there, I have to say, one of the biggest community, that's why I was actually mentioning before that it's a country very close to my heart. One of the biggest communities, actually the Greek community over there. I have plenty of Greek friends that were actually going there, and they are staying there to work. And I'm talking about data scientists, software engineers, econometrician, and so on. So really valuable assets that actually left the country. But now with COVID, you're right that probably all the habits and the normal way of working is completely changing. So it could actually be a great opportunity for Greece to attract back their talent again. And we were talking a bit about of course, the government and the initiatives, and I want to be linked with that for my next question to Roula. So, of course, we started this conversation talking about this big elephant in the room, which is the government. But I do believe that also the Greek government is doing something for startup initiatives and perhaps even fintech initiative. I was reading about a European fintech fund at some point. So, Roula, can you give us a bit more details on the initiative that you are aware of?
Yeah, sure. Firstly, I would like to take 1 minute just to give the big picture of the macroeconomic situation in Greece.
Please,
so
yes.
Pass then to developments and the Greek initiatives. The European Commission's winter forecast show that Greece suffered the second deepest recession in the EU, coming behind Spain, with the economy shrinking minus 10%. The Commission predicts Greece GDP will only grow 3.5% in 2021 due to its forecast for a limited recovery of tourism this year, which is followed by 5%, I think, growth in 2022. And I've read that Morgan Stanley believes that the pandemic's impact on Greece will be serious but manageable, with the country's GDP growth in 2024 becoming in just 1.5% lower than its initial pre-COVID-19 period, compared to the gap of 19% during 2015, the Eurozone crisis, you remember. So the Greek economy slowly recovers after a devastating financial crisis, and the results from consequent austerity measures for the last 10 years and more, okay? Because we have now the COVID pandemic, which give us also, experts are warning that more restrictions are on the table if the epidemiological picture continues to deteriorate. So having said that, we see that several developments we will discuss today started 2019, demonstrate the progress that is happening in Greece on the innovation front, and set a promising path towards a technologically fueled, let's say, economic growth. So global leading companies choose to invest in Greek services and products. Tesla established Tesla Greece, based in Athens. Microsoft, Cisco also have launched their innovation hub in Thessaloniki. Leading biotech and medical organizations also have recently launched innovation labs in Greece, like Pfizer, for example, meaning that something is changing in Greece after all, okay? And from the part of the government, Mr. Dr. Christos Dimas, who is the Deputy Minister of Development and Investment, Research, Innovation and Technology, says that Greece can become a key global center of entrepreneurial activity. So with global tech majors looking to grow in Greece, the government is preparing to the long game, let's say, having embarked on a multifaceted strategy to reshape the country into a leading research and innovation hub. So from landmark tax cuts and the creation of a startup registry named Elevate Greece, across to the development of an innovation district in Athens and the technological park in Thessaloniki. The goal here is to make Greece much more attractive with respect to the past and its main competitors in the region. So the first initiative is the National Startup Registry, Elevate Greece. Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis was inaugurated the Elevate Greece last October 2020. And this new platform was designed to become the digital gateway, if we say so, where interested startups will register in order to be officially accredited by Greek authorities, provided that they meet the following two key criteria, innovation and scalability. And also National Startup Registry will operate as a dashboard of metrics to attract investors from Greece and abroad. So we have the registry. Dimitris said about the Business Angel Co-Investment Equity Instrument that is already announced and taken this year, as he said. I think also, I remember, yes, in order to meet the increased liquidity needs that we have because of the pandemic, there is another program that startups will obtain a new soft financing product or alternatively a refundable aid program, financing up to 50% of their annual salary cost with a maximum amount of 100,000 euros. So this is another initiative helping startups in this crisis. And also I think that Greek government will allocate more than 120 million euros. I think it's from public and European money. That the government expects to support more than 1,200 startup companies across Greece. And the call is in collaboration with the Hellenic Development Bank. I think it's already launched, if I remember well. So the new business financing initiative is supported by the European also investment fund and will help Greek companies to better access finance and encourage innovation, and also designed, I think, to help the job creation by businesses across Greece. So there are many initiatives on that aspect in order to help the startup community to grow, which is estimated about 2,000 startups in Greece.
Yeah, thanks, Roula. You gave actually quite a complete picture, also starting from the tough points of the economy, of course. But it's good to see that there are things moving and that the government is actually putting some effort into fostering the startups. And you actually mentioned something very crucial, which is the access to capital in general, and the possibility to finance the startups and the jobs related with that. So we are going to go for a very short break to hear from our sponsors, and we are coming back very soon.
Do you want to be part of Breaking Banks Europe? Reach out and learn more about the opportunity to be featured in one of our shows. With over 1.6 million listeners and counting, Breaking Banks Europe is bound to become the place to advance critical dialogue in Europe and the UK fintech scene. Reach out on Instagram or Twitter at Breaking Banks EU, or go to
And we are back talking with our two guests, Roula and Dimitris. And we were actually discussing a couple of minutes ago about the initiatives of the Greek government to foster innovation. And Roula gave us a very good overview of that. And my next question is actually for Dimitris, because of course with Roula we were saying about financing your company and the effort that the Greek government is putting in that. But of course, if I think about how to assess how an ecosystem is developing or not, it's definitely the possibility for the startup to access to capital. So actually your job as a VC. You were mentioning before that not a lot of startups are aware of the VC path as a possibility to finance their activities. And I'm wondering why is that? I also want to know a bit more from your side. What's the VC environment over there? What are the investment opportunities? Are you frequently maybe partnering up with other VC in order to co-invest together? And you were mentioning also about the angel activities. Let's try to, put a bit of order around all the possibility that a Greek company has.
Sure. Yeah. I think the main comment here is that I mentioned that first-timers, so people without any prior, startup experience, they're not really aware of the VC as a way to go. They're coming from the corporate world, so they are more familiar with more traditional financing instruments like
going to the bank.
Going to the bank, yeah, of course. The traditional economy. And many good qualified professionals are coming from there. It is driven by the banking sector. So this is how they understand financing your startup. What's really interesting is that our job really complements, and it comes before financing opportunities from the banking sector is really coming into play. And a small parenthesis here. It's really interesting. It's really important. Roula mentioned this before. Eurobank and some other big banks, they have an active role in the local VC ecosystem as limited partners, as our investors in this process. So, having said that, generally speaking, in less mature ecosystem like ours, what I call the periphery of Europe. Not Berlin or London or Paris. The VC activity is primarily driven by the government. So 3 years ago, the Greek government came and ignited a new age of VC activity in the form of a partnership with the European Investment Fund, where they co-created a platform, a fund of funds, just for the Greek VC. For the VC industry and for the local startup community, called Equifund. So out of the Equifund instrument, there are 9 funds, ours being on the very beginning of the investment process, being a pre-seed and seed fund. So we are typically the first institutional money in, 150 to 300,000 euro on average. You have 4 funds in the very beginning. You have 2 early stage funds and 3 funds that are actually more like private equity, I would argue. They are not really into the tech game per se. So you have 6 VC startup-like funds, 3 private equity ones, out of the Equifund instrument. In total, private investors and public money and European Investment Fund, this means 450 million euro to be invested in Greek companies. So far, to date, 3 years in for the whole Equifund family of funds, we've seen investments in more than 120 companies, and we've seen around 50% of this amount, the amount of 450 mil, already been investment across these 3 streams, from pre-seed and seed to private equity-like deals. These are good news, obviously.
Yeah.
These are wonderful news. My concern, and this is what I'm also trying to advocate to and promote within institutional ears as well, is what are we doing and how we safeguard the sustainability of our ecosystem in the long run. And this is enabling private individuals to invest or either directly to startup companies or through instruments like ours, VC funds as limited partners to funds that will deploy to investing companies their capital at risk. So this is the next frontier. To this respect, we mentioned EIF is creating a new angel fund purely for the Greek ecosystem together with the Greek government later this year. Very nice hook there. They're gonna need, this angel fund is going to need 50% on an investing company level from angel investors in order to co-invest, which means funds like mine, Velocity, we're not angel investors, obviously.
Yeah.
This means that if someone needs 200,000 and they will need half of this amount from the angel fund, they will need 3 or 4 people to invest in them. So the co-investment facility will enable its financing and cover the rest 50%. I think this is going to be of enormous importance for the next phase of the ecosystem, because we're going to have more people investing their money, their skin in the game in this asset class. So they will familiarize with the risk investment appetite we provide as an asset class. And at the same time, they will quote unquote educate themselves in tech investing. Some folks obviously will come from the industry. So we're talking about the former successful tech entrepreneurs. Some others might come from what I call the old economy, shipping, finance, third generation of entrepreneurs in this country. As the younger generation takes over, they might explore this asset class. It's a wonderful way to invest part of their wealth in.
This is a very interesting point, and I'm not talking only about Greece. In general, in Europe, you see this wave coming of a lot of angel investor groups. Because as you were saying, on one side, I believe that there is a lot of liquidity floating around. And unfortunately, we all know that the traditional investment side is not the most perfect in terms of return right now. And on the other side, you see a lot of knowledgeable individuals that could put, what we call normally smart money. So not only putting a chip into a company, but perhaps give also this advisor role and try to help commercially in the business development and so on. So these are actually quite some good and interesting side to talk about, because of course I do believe that this is especially in a moment like that, where liquidity is so much important. We really need to foster these initiatives, and of course the government is the best one in order to do so, also for maybe some tax benefit or tax legislation and so on. So thanks a lot for mentioning that. And another element, it's the collaboration side. I would define that. So I was mentioning that I'm coming from the Netherlands, from the Dutch ecosystem, which is very well known for the collaboration processes between corporates and startups. Roula, you are actually coming from originally from a bank, which is Eurobank. How do you experience the relationship between incumbents and startups in terms of partnerships, investment, and so on?
Yeah. When I receive such a question, And the thing that came in my mind is the exits. I mean, funding exits that startups, there have been a few exits in the past in Greece, and mainly in marketplaces, of course, being sold to bigger European players. So a few paradigms of these synergies, collaborations, it is the exit after the funding, like, for example, Luxibit to Daimler, for instance, eFood, another great startup to Delivery Hero, or companies getting acquired after building very specific types of technology, such as Innoetics to Samsung, and Avocado to Glipsa, I think. And there are a few more. So there is one road of, creating synergies, and even a big corporation take place a significant part in the business of the startups. And on the other hand, there is another road of collaborating, like helping on an extroversion side, helping them connected with other companies. Let's say E.G.G. and Eurobank help a lot their startups to get connected with other corporates, big corporations, in order to increase their revenue stream. But we have also some examples that mentors at the E.G.G. finally take an executive board place in the company, helping them, increasing European or other foreign funding. I can say a few paradigms from the ecosystem. Like we have some top promising Greek startups that we expect to see hitting the headlines in 2021. For example, Augmenta. Augmenta, founded in 2016, is an agri-tech startup that helps farmers drive down cost and improve crop performance. They use its technology operates in real time. It's an AI and Internet of Things, learns the more it is used by the farmer. And until now, they increased funding more than $2.5 million around the globe, mostly in US funds. And E.G.G. helped them on connecting with some big players in the agri-tech business. And this, I believe that it's one paradigm on the synergies base. Trip Around, another tourism startup. They have a mission of bringing travel planning into the future through a holistic product line for hotels and big corporations. Their mentor enter the executive board, and they finally, I think that until now, they raised more than $3 million from US funding. I think that's the most, let's say,
the best examples.
Some examples, yes. There is also WeWe that helps companies attract, select and retain top talent through a blend of science and gameplay. All Can Code, which is specializing super fast web and mobile application development for marketing and advertising. Many examples on different aspects.
As we say in Italy, you are quite a proud mom of your startups.
Yeah.
That's nice.
I have this nickname anyway. It's an inside joke at the end.
That's good.
And Eurobank too.
You see, yeah. So I mean, you can see a lot of good examples and promising companies. And if we actually want to deep dive more into fintech ecosystem, then I was reading about two impressive companies. One is Plum that raised $23 million, and another one is Viva Wallet with an impressive $96 million. Even though, of course, I'm aware Viva Wallet is based in London, is actually coming from a whole Greek setup. So, Dimitris, I want to ask you a bit more about the fintech ecosystem in Greece. Where do you think the entrepreneurs can get an edge in Greece? Which opportunities can give the Greek market specifically into financial innovation?
I think there's an interesting crossroads between finance and fintech. And this is where we can do a lot of new stuff. I'm not talking about and purely on the refugee communities as far as financial inclusion is concerned. I'm not the go-to person to talk to about financial inclusion from the banking sector, because I'm not coming from the banking sector. I'm sure Roula has a better understanding. But when it comes to credit, for example, I'm quite confident to say, many Greeks, especially millennials, the younger generation, they don't have access to credit products, which means here you have a wonderful opportunity to really create a new type of credit score for these people and enable them with payday loans instruments, with peer-to-peer lending, so they can purchase the items and the stuff they like, and at the same time be able to become a bit more relevant as far as the younger generation are concerned. Another key issue is obviously financial education. I think this starts from elementary school, to be frankly honest. You have people in their 12, 13 years old trying to better understand the basic concepts of credit scoring again, of investments, of stocks, of different types of financial products that will eventually be part of their everyday lives. I think, so when it comes to fintech, another wide space will be family fintech. So products specifically for families, specifically for children and the younger generation.
Yeah, and I mean, this is actually an important trend, because you see those are the customer of the future. So even from a bank perspective, this should be very interesting to focus on for future profits, I would say. And it's interesting. It's funny because, I'm working a lot as a consultancy project in emerging markets. But every time I'm laughing inside, because I'm like, okay, we are talking about emerging market, Africa, Southeast Asia, and so on. But to be honest, if we look at our countries, at some European countries, everywhere, even in Europe, you see there is a huge amount of people that don't have, that are not considered by the traditional banking system. And you were mentioning credit. I mean, people of my age in Italy, they completely don't have access to mortgages, credit, they want to buy a house or so on. So definitely you touch upon a very important point. And definitely, I mean, it's a problem, but it's a big market opportunity for a startup that want to enter the market or approach the sector. So guys, I think we are quite... Yeah, sorry, Roula, go ahead.
No, I would like to add to what Dimitris said, that in generally speaking, the Greek fintech industry has seen significant growth trends in recent years, having more startups, bringing some innovative projects, discussing with banks, etc. And I remember that at not so recently, 2018, a monthly report from the Bank of Greece stated that if the value of transactions through fintech approaches the European average, it will add 0.6% to Greece's gross domestic product. So that means that there is a potentiality here, but of course it's a wish list from that aspect. But additionally, they say that if the Greek fintech industry becomes a leader for Southeast Europe, Greek GDP would increase by 1.8%. So that gives, a space for doing things for us to do things in order to reach the numbers and trying to become the leader in this part of Europe.
Yeah, I completely agree. I do believe that there is a huge space, especially for Greece, in this sense for fintech startups. Of course, we have to consider all the other elements of the ecosystem, but definitely could be a great space to focus on for startups now in Greece. All right, I think we are kind of running out of time. I have just one very small last request for you. If you want to give our audience some details about your current activities, where they can reach you if they want to, how they can get in touch with
From
you.
our part, our website is the focal point for everybody who would like to connect with the E.G.G startup ecosystem, and also if they would like to prepare business plans. We're accepting from all over Europe business projects. It is the E.G.G.gr, www.theegg.gr. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, Roula.
And for
Dimitris.
us, as far as the VC part of the conversation concerned, our main website is the focal point for anyone to get in touch. It's Velocity.Partners, one word, .vc. Myself, you can find me on any major social network. Just type my name, I'll be there, and I'll answer.
Just send him a deck.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you cannot really effectively attach text and retrieve everything. So I always ask everyone, just email me your deck on from LinkedIn to my email, and so on and so forth. If there's anyone looking for digital transformation consulting or reskilling its personnel in this part of Europe, Found.ation might be a potentially good partner to work with. And the website is the Found.ation.gr. And that's about us.
Perfect. Thanks a lot. Thanks, Roula. Thanks, Dimitris. It was very nice talking with you. I think you gave a great insights on your ecosystem. And I really hope to have the chance to collaborate again in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Francesca. Thank you, people.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the invitation. Wonderful discussion.
Thanks. So thanks also to our audience. Thank you for joining this ecosystem. Remember to follow Breaking Banks Europe on all streaming platforms and, of course, our social media. Again, I'm Francesca Aliverti, and see you next week. Ciao.
Thanks for listening to Breaking Banks Europe, a Provoke Media podcast in cooperation with FinTech Stage. Don't forget to tweet us out, shout out, or post to the team at Breaking Banks EU on Twitter. If there's something or someone you'd like to hear on our cast, let us know. See you next week on Breaking Banks Europe.